And welcome. Today we have a very special guest. It's Mohamed Tarek. Mohamed was the first teacher that I learned with coaching. That was back in 2010. And he has been in the coaching business and training coaches since 2005, now 16 years. And he's one of the leaders of thought in the NLP now, and one of the great leaders of the Meta Coaching Foundation. Mohamed is actually positioning himself as a relationship coach and as a business coach when it comes to providing services to the clients besides training coaches. And he's the head of and founder of Lucid Training. It's a pleasure, Mohamed, to have you in this conversation and to talk about relationships at work and how we deal with our clients. Yeah, how are you, Mohamed?
It's my pleasure being with you here, and I'm happy to do something with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohamed. Really, I'm really in this place, where when I found your branding and my branding, when we're talking about that, we are both well known as relationship coaches, and in the same time, we're supporting executives and businesses. And some people say in what they call in Arabic, إيش جاب القلعة جنب البحر, this kind of what brought the citadel beside the sea. This is an Arabian proverb which tells, how are you doing these both together, sitting with couples with their emotional things and struggles and conflicts, and at the same time working with executives. How can this actually happen? I want to ask you here, because it's the same dilemma that comes and lands with some of our clients. Yeah.
Well, in my opinion, executive coaching is all about relationships. So unlike working with small and medium business owners, executives, they don't need to work things about related to business or knowledge about the business, because most of the time they have a lot of business knowledge. But what they need help with, what they need to work on is relationships, whether it's between them and the board members, employees, teams, stakeholders, or even with their families, even with themselves. So executive coaching, from my opinion, is all about relationships. It's mostly more than talking about business, more than focusing on business. It's most of the time it's about relationships.
So I believe that this is very true. But what makes an executive trust you to work on his business relationships, while he knows that you are working with couples, that's, sometimes they feel it's,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's my personal preference, and most of the time I don't share that I do business coaching or executive coaching and relationship coaching. So most of the time, my executive coaching clients, they later discover that during our relationship while working together, when something related to relationships comes up, and I tell them, actually, I do have experience in that. Would you like some help? And that happens almost like 90% of the time. So 90% of the time, when I'm working with them, we need to work on relationship and issues related to the relationships. But usually, I don't announce publicly that I do relationship coaching and executive coaching. So my executive coaching, they have no idea that I do relationship coaching. They later discover that. And most of the time, my relationship coaching, they don't know that I do executive coaching. Because as you said, they are totally different topics externally, but internally, they are very, very related. And I think they have a lot in common than other kinds of coaching.
Yeah, I believe that's so, because of, I've been there. And actually, when you said 90%, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. How relationships, and this will be our first question maybe, and this how come, that how is it important for the executives and the business leaders to adjust their personal relationships and their relationship patterns, outside and inside, and how does this relate, So this is my first question here. So
yeah. And that's a very interesting question, because to be honest, the life of an executive is not an easy life. That's a fact. So the amount of responsibility, the amount of pressure, the amount of things they have to do, their life is not an easy life. So if we're talking about romantic relationships or like relationship with their family, if people involved in these relationships, they are not understanding and they're not aware of the pressure the executive is going through, it's not going to be easy for the executive. And sometimes what they need to do is to explain to their partner, is to explain to their like family what they are going through and the pressure and the things that's needed for them. And sometimes that's not going to work. So what they need to work on is to prepare themselves that their partner or their family are not going to be supportive, and they need to change to be able to adapt and to work through whatever is going on without getting the support they wish they have from their family. So I would say executive they have a lot of challenges in this area. Most of the time, the problems executive have is related to relationships. And again, it could be personal relationships or work relationships. It's most of the time they have the business knowledge and they have the business experience, and sometimes they have business experience and knowledge like 30 times the amount I have. And I like to say or to think that I have a lot of business experience. I'm a business coach and I have my own business. Yet executives, especially those working in large corporates, they have tremendous experience and they are not looking for that in coaching. Sometimes they are looking for like clarity, how to communicate better with themselves, which is still relationship, having a better relationship with themselves. Sometimes they are looking how to have the balance between their work and their family. And again, that's relationship. Sometimes they're looking how to have the balance between getting results and having a happy team. And again, that's relationship. So most of the challenges they have would be around the relationships area. I'm very curious to hear about your own experience and challenges you had in this area.
Well, I believe I'm really
Mm,
enjoying listening to you. And actually, here I
mm,
second what you're saying. And actually, when I in the last period, in the last 3 years, I worked as an executive in an organization after I took an assignment for 1 year and a half, and I was coming in, as this kind of person with the white hair and and
mm,
the belly of the 40s, that stuff. I was actually in the average population age at
yeah,
this company was in the end of 20s, beginning of 30s, something like 28, 29 years, 5 to 6
okay.
years experience. That was the average population that was there. And I landed there to be the eldest, the old, even in age, I was the the
Mm,
biggest, the biggest executives that was there. And actually, and actually, it felt so lonely.
mm,
When it comes, it landed on me, and I've been working with leaders since
yeah,
10 years now. And actually, it was the first time for me to feel this loneliness. This assignment was 1 year and a half. I
mm,
felt so lonely. It was really, to connect with other generations. And actually, whenever you come in a place, where the huddling place where we have the coffee, and actually you enjoy a
yeah.
break or something like that, and you just enter the room, so everybody, just looks, like,
Silence.
what is he doing here? Just
Yeah,
the topic changes, everything. That so
yeah,
in a way, I believe that working with leaders at this at this stage, at executives, and actually, it's also working with their loneliness and how to manage it, how to connect with different age groups, with different
mm,
and acknowledge their privileges. Actually, how they connect with. I have to understand. I overrank them when it comes to age, when it comes to position, to power, and maybe they may consider that they may not feel safe with me around them, to just have
mm,
their jokes, have their talk around the
yeah,
coffee corner or whatever. And actually, it's a responsibility, when it comes, and
mm,
actually to accept this and actually connect with that. This is part of being you as a leader, and you have maybe to connect and make friends around somewhere else, and start building new networks, at this level and this stage. This is something that's really, and accept that you are the leader there, as if you are, in the home you are Baba, and you have
yes,
to connect with this fatherhood,
yes,
and it's still you are the responsible, you are overranking your children,
mm,
and whatever you do to befriend them, there is still a gap, and you have to still connect with others.
yeah,
With your partner and spouse, there has to be some sort of partnership, companionship, and this is something that you mentioned here. That's very important. I have to set expectations. I have to actually have this permission to be vulnerable, and show them what I need, and to
mm,
connect with this. It's really challenging to some people, actually, especially with the experience in manage, and the zone where you're very focused with your work and giving this limited time to home, and over time the gap expands, and the stress and the loneliness also at the same time is enlarged, and actually coming in as a big distance, or something like.
I definitely agree. And the word you use, loneliness, I think it's the big word for executives. Even if there is no like age gap or difference in the culture, things like this, most of the executives I worked with, they had that feeling because they felt they're in one place and the rest of the team is in a different place. They didn't feel they can talk openly with them. They didn't feel they can get honest feedback from them. They felt there's a gap between them and the rest of the team. So I would say many executives, they are actually facing the issue of feeling lonely. And I would say that's one of the biggest reasons they seek an executive coach, someone they can openly talk to, someone they can share whatever that's going on without feeling they are going to be judged or seen in a negative way. Someone that they will talk to openly, and still that person will have like high positive regards toward them. I'd say this is one of the biggest needs for executives when they are hiring an executive coach to help them navigate with the loneliness feeling and connect with themselves first, connect with others, and have someone they can openly talk to. Because usually that's not present in like most of the culture where they expect to be the head of the organization. They expect them not to make mistakes, not to have weaknesses, not um, to be vulnerable, and it's a big challenge for them to do that.
Yeah, it's really a big challenge. And actually, when you're talking like this, and it made me self-reflect, being an owner of business or a leader of a business that is in coaching and being a coach at the same time, and how much it is difficult to really make true friends at this stage and having connections. Yesterday I was seeing a tweet that was coming on Twitter. One of the mental health care professionals was writing. She was saying, it is, as you get older, it is much harder to make friends, and
Yeah,
to be a mental health or a therapist, be older than a
even
mental health
harder.
or therapist, it's 10 times harder.
Yes. Well, and that's why I think it's very smart for executive coaches to have coaches. Actually, for any kind of coach to have a coach. And besides having a coach, you also have friends from coaches.
Yeah.
Personally, I think if there's a coach who doesn't have a coach, that's a negative sign. Because as a coach, you see and you truly believe in the value of coaching, then I'll be surprised if you don't have one or two coaches at least coaching you at the same time.
Yes, that's very true. But actually, coaches are
Yeah,
not replacement for friends.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's yeah. And actually, in a
yeah,
way, I can tell that in some experiences I had with some coaching leaders, on coaching some leaders, some of them turned to be my friends, and we stopped coaching at some
coaching.
stage of time.
Yes,
Yeah, and
yes,
we just enjoy being out and having connecting together, and we stop this coaching relationship, yeah, put it on a side. We need to be friends, and that's it.
yes, yes,
And it happened with me maybe in yani, one out of maybe 10 or 12 coaches. Maybe you come up
yeah,
with a good friend at this stage when you find.
exactly.
Does this happen with you at sometimes?
Sure, and as you said, because I personally believe it's not. I'm not going to say it's not ethical, but it's not 100% right to be a friend with your clients, especially when
Yeah.
when you're doing coaching. So it's not as big as therapists being friends with their clients, but also in coaching, there is like a boundary or like a line that you shouldn't cross, not for ethical reasons, but to be able to give value to the client. So as long
Yes.
as you maintain that boundary, you're able to give more to the client. Once you're going to cross that boundary, then maybe, as you said, just transfer the client to a friend, stop charging him, and go out for coffee together. But now
Yeah.
you're clear. Both of you are clear that you're not doing coaching, and maybe
Yes.
you're referring to someone else. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back to the relationships, and You know, يعني can when you find something that is related to relationships and it came up with normally the executive coaching assignments doesn't mention in the beginning
Mhm.
relational issues, except maybe in some parts they talk about it, maybe engagement, maybe resolving conflicts with some peers or
Um,
some partners, or maybe putting self branding. It comes in as a total different Trojan horse, normally when
um,
it's in the coaching objectives itself. But when you dig deep, it's a relational issue, and it's something that's you hit the core of a relational dynamic, something like that. So what happens when it is something that is really affecting the whole life of the executive? How do you deal with it? How you take permission, and how do you maybe tackle or address the issue and put it on the table with the executive,
um,
especially that it was not maybe
Part
contracted
of the
in the
agreement.
beginning that this is the yeah. So how
Yeah.
can you tell me?
Well, the beauty of coaching is, as coaches, we can coach on any topic. So, unlike consultants who need to have a lot of experience and results in a certain area and many years to work in that area, we as coaches, we are experienced in coaching, not the topic. So we can actually shift gear and coach the client in different topic based on their needs. So as you said, what we usually do is we just take permission, especially when the client is bringing up the topic. So when the client is saying, right now I have issues with my wife, for example, or I'm distracted with what's going on with my kids at home. So at that point, what we do as coaches is we tell the clients we can help in that area. Is that something you'd like to explore? Is that something you'd like to work on? And most of the time, the client is actually excited to get that support. Very few times the client might be a bit resistant or not confident to do that. But I would say if you have been working with that client and you already have that trust, that rapport, and that connection, they already know what you can do for them, and they're already looking forward to get the same things you're giving them in their work in other areas of their life. Because as you said, sometimes what's happening at home is affecting the work and doing that like big time. So sometimes the distraction they have at home is preventing them from focusing at work and producing results.
Yeah.
So I would say that's not a different topic because the main content was to help them get results at work. So if we're going to do that by fixing what's happening at home, then we're still following the conflict and we're still helping them. But I would say even if it's not affecting the work directly, it's still affecting them. They are not in their best state. They are not performing at their best or the highest because they have issues in relationships. So I do have two different stories I was working with. So one of my clients, and he was based in Hong Kong. He was a very young and successful CEO of the company. He founded that company. I think at that time when I was coaching him, I think he was like 24, something like that. And he was selling over $1 million every month worth of products. So he was really doing well. He invented
Wow.
some product and he was selling it, and he was selling over like $1 million every month. At one point, his challenge was that he's still single and he's not in a relationship, and that was nagging him, and he was not able to produce results and focus 100% on his work because of that issue. So I remember, I think we like a month or two, we took half of our sessions working on that part of his life, on him being single and how to get ready for the right relationship. It's very, very different than our initial agreement and the work we were doing. Yet it had a lot of tremendous effect on him, and he had a lot of awareness that was able to help him in his work and also in his relationship just by doing that. So
Amazing.
that's one of the stories that I had, and it's very different. So he was coming to me to work on his business and to help him like improve his business and have more results and better results. Yet at one point we had to focus on his relationship and that part of his life. So I have
Wow.
another story, but I'd like to hear more from you first.
It's actually يعني I really love what you did with your coachee, and يعني actually this was amazing يعني working with on this area. And actually what I see يعني normally يعني when I worked with many leaders, this feeling of loneliness that maybe I described earlier comes in from the fact that they don't share enough. Yani they
Yes.
actually take on themselves, they put lots of burdens on their shoulders, they feel that they're supermen, that are responsible, invincible, powerful, they're the providers, they cannot ask others to support. And actually it creates a distance, when you're in this kind of invulnerability, or feeling, this kind of burden that you are invincible, and you
Mm-hmm.
cannot actually show your vulnerability with others because you don't feel safe to be judged,
Yes.
that you're not manly enough, you're not responsible enough, you're not taking your responsibility in a way that is
Mm-hmm.
proper, and maybe you will be blamed by others that you're not fulfilling your duties or something like that. This actually burns men, and it comes in with health issues. I see lots of leaders that I worked with before we started working. They had something like, psychosomatic disorders, or something like, stress patterns that brought them to
Mm.
blood pressure, to heart diseases, to maybe diabetes, things like back pains, things, that's allergies, and they take on themselves too much, and actually this really affects their partners. They feel distance, yani when they do this, it doesn't only affect their teams, that they see them actually angry, discreet, distant leaders, and they don't feel the personal connection with them. It is the same feeling at home, because their partners actually feel they don't understand them anymore. They're just this silent, grumpy old men who are at home,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
maybe the most important shift that happens, and when they start sharing their weakness, when they actually start sharing their playfulness, when they start connecting with their imperfections, and working, and actually showing others, we are human beings also, and we need your support,
Yeah.
and I'm not able to do this all alone. We can do this together.
Mm.
Sharing
Yeah.
responsibilities, delegating, putting things, being vulnerable, that's showing their weakness and actually their silliness in some points, the shadow
Exactly.
part that they know. Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
they're playful. Actually, this is where their leadership turns a lot. They become this playful leader, the connected leader, and they still
Mm.
have this distance, and but they're not lonely anymore. They're
Yeah.
sharing, and everybody else is carrying with them, and things go moving afterwards, and everybody around them feel empowered, feel their
Mm.
role towards them, feel understanding what are the expectations.
Yeah.
So this is maybe, the story I wanted to share. So I would like to hear your second story, please.
Well, I'd like to just add to what you just said, showing their stilliness. So I would say this is something big because in neurosemantics, the school of coaching we follow, we have a saying that says, when we get serious, we get stupid. So sometimes what we're doing is we're coaching executives on humor, how to use humor, how to take things lightly, and how to deal with others in a fun way. Because
Yeah.
we the saying again, when you get too serious, you get too stupid, and we really believe that if everything you're doing all the time in a serious way, you're not allowing yourself sometimes to be silly. You're not allowing others to do that around you, then probably that's not the best thing, or you're not going to be getting the best results. So sometimes you need to be more vulnerable, more open, more confident that I can show different sides of me, and I'm perfectly fine with doing that. So yes, I really like that part. The second story was actually with an executive, and he was the business owner. His wife was his partner and also his assistant, and that's very complicated relationship. So his wife is also his business partner and his assistant in the business. When I started working with them, and I was coaching both of them at the same time, so we meet together every week and we work on the business. We work on whatever there is going on. I remember at one time in one of the meetings, he only showed up. His wife was not there, and for me that was a sign. Something is not right here. And then he started telling me that they are starting to have fights, and he is at the point now, in turning point in his business, that either he's going to continue the business or the same way they're doing it, or and probably that's going to end his relationship with his wife. So if they are going to continue the same things the same way, he's going to end his relationship with his wife, or he's going to end his relationship with her as a partner. So it's either this or that. Either they stop the business relationship or they stop the marriage relationship. And at that point, I think we had like three weeks and three meetings in which he didn't show up. I was just coaching him on how to make the right decision. And at the end, he chose that he wanted her as a wife. And
Not a
then they
business
started
partner.
working exactly because he valued her more as a wife and he didn't want to lose her as a wife. But to do that, he had to end his relationship with her as a business partner. And to do that, because she was also assisting him with a lot of parts of the business, he had to have like a second plan. He had to work on a lot of the things. And I think once she left the business, it took him maybe like 6 to 8 months to recover from that. But that was a big decision because I think next month, or maybe the next month after, they are traveling and they're taking like 2 weeks or 3 weeks vacation and they're going to enjoy that together. So at
Wow.
least they saved the marriage.
Yeah,
And that's working fine. Yeah.
that's a very tough decision, and
Yeah.
maybe in a playful way it was shown in this episode series. I'm not sure if you saw it or not. اللعبة, the game that was shown on the Shahid TV or on NBC. There was this couple, that came in drama, they were separating between their personal life, and it was really comic, but but it really lands. We are people, and whatever
Yeah.
happens in business. And this is something that I was talking to one of my partners. Whatever happens in business, it lands personal in a way, because
Yeah.
business is personal, and also
Exactly.
when in the personal life, it affects business. It's we are human beings, and we actually we appreciate our and value work as well. We value the relationships from a personal value system that actually has to integrate both, and we are the same person here and there.
Yeah.
So I'm not in this part where it tells that business is not personal or personal is not business. However, the essence of the relationship itself, we have to focus on why we are here. We are here for business, so we have to put business first. However, whatever the dynamic that we are working with together, it is still personal. So whatever I will feel, it's legitimate to me, and you have to acknowledge my feeling.
Yes. I definitely
And
agree. And
it's
I would say business is personal.
yeah. And the maturity of people is actually to conflict around the right things with the right patterns.
Hmm.
It's not about not conflicting. It's about conflicting in a way that keeps what is personal,
Yeah.
keeps the emotions, keeps the the how we feel around each other. We feel safe, at least, and our
Yes.
priorities set right.
Yeah. In meta coaching and neurosemantics, the school we follow, we actually have this concept which is called productive conflict. And when we're talking about team building and like working with teams, we also have this understanding or this principle that a team that without conflict is not a real team. So if the team is always happy and you don't have any kind of conflict, then we think that this is not a real team. This is just like a group of people who are just starting to come together and they are starting to connect with each other. So they are pretending to be nice, but they are not yet functioning as a group because there is no conflict and there's no different opinions. So the thing here I would say is once you have conflicts, real conflicts, then you have a real team. The challenge is to have respectful conflicts and you have productive conflicts because the conflicts can be very dangerous and can end the relationship, or they can strengthen the relationship and can be very productive in terms of getting new ideas and new products and new things to the business. So conflicts is very healthy for the business. It's how it's expressed. Is it expressed in a productive way, respectful way? And I would say a good coach can help the executives and the rest of the team do that and get the results from doing that.
Yes. I really love the conversation with you, but now we're topping the 30 minutes. I believe that this would be a very good time for the LinkedIn, videos, and actually, yani, to let the people actually engage more. And so coming with the end of this episode, what would you like to maybe summarize, keep as a core message, or get something as a learning from this discussion to actually bring to the audience?
Well, it's one of the things you said at the beginning. Executives, being executive is not an easy journey, and it's a lonely journey. So I'd say having an executive coach is something that can add a lot to that. So working with a coach like Sharaf, for example, can make your life a lot easier. Can help you. The metaphor I like to use here is like when you go to have a massage. So when you're stressed and you're physically drained and you go to a massage, then you feel fresh. Working with the coach is exactly the same, but it's a massage to your mind. So you have more clarity, you have more understanding, you have a fresh view for things. So I would say that I would recommend all executives to have at least a coach to give it a try and to see the benefit they can get from that. There, something else, even if you're not going to work with a coach, and preferably if you're going to work with a coach, is also to connect with peers, to have a group of like-minded people who have similar challenges, similar experience, so you don't feel lonely. You don't need to go through this journey by yourself. Connect with others to give you the support, because we all go through these challenges. We all go through at times when things are not pleasant, and we cannot expect ourselves to always be in a positive state and to always be in a good state. We are going to have challenges, and if we are surrounded with the right people and maybe coaches, it's much easier to do that.
Amazing, Muhammad. Thank you for these advices. And actually, I really love your presence and appreciate your time that you gave in this interview. And if you want to connect with Muhammad, actually, you have the contacts in the ticker down there, Muhammad at lucidtraining.net. And actually, I believe that do you have an offer for our audience, maybe for the next ACMC program that you are holding next month?
Well, so we do have a training to become a coach, which is taking place in actually 10 days from now. But if you send me an email saying that you saw this offer in this interview, whether it's the coming round or the next round, we will be more than happy to offer you a free training as part of the package. So we have three trainings that you need to attend to become a coach. We'll be more than happy to offer you one of them for free.
Okay, thank you, Muhammad. That's
Thank you.
amazing, and thank you for that interview. And thank you. And I will just end this broadcast. So, with the next episode, we will actually have more in-depth talks about relations at work with Mohamed Tarek, but maybe after a month or so, right? We
Looking
want
forward
to
to
have
that.
you again, inshallah. Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Muhammad. Okay,
Thank you.
bye.